Welcome to GreenBites, Sustainable Asia's weekly environmental news podcast. I'm Koa Tran.
And I'm Shermaine Lee.
In less than 10 minutes, we offer you bite-sized green updates in Asia we think you should know about.
Welcome back. So last week, we talked about how the Taliban, who are now trying to govern Afghanistan, are sitting on large deposits of rare earth elements like lithium, cobalt, and copper.
This actually got me thinking about green technologies that need those rare earth elements, specifically electric vehicle batteries. And something else caught my attention while looking.
Oh, what is it?
So batteries have an expiry date. There comes a time when, after being recharged so many times, the battery needs to be disposed of. With current technology, this usually happens between 3 to 5 years, depending on the car model. And I just can't help but wonder how sustainable EVs can be in the long run given this battery constraint.
I see. This is something I've often wondered about too. How about the fact that battery technology is getting better and better? Isn't that the reason why many are now making the switch to electric vehicles, contributing to their rise in popularity in recent years?
Yes, that's true. Battery technology keeps improving and batteries are getting more efficient, both in terms of mileage before having to recharge and lifespan before being replaced altogether. But what I was talking about is a little more than that, perhaps even a way to make the whole EV industry more sustainable.
So you mean recycling them, right? Well, apparently, that's been the focus of Tesla's former chief technology officer J.B. Straubel, who worked for the American electric vehicle manufacturer for 15 years before starting a battery recycling company. According to Straubel, the electric vehicle industry is at risk of being unsustainable without proper battery manufacturing and disposal. His startup is looking for ways to recycle metals from any batteries, so not just from electric vehicles, but also from old phones and laptops, into new functioning batteries. Generally, this is known as urban mining.
And urban mining could be an important step towards achieving a so-called circular economy and manufacturing more sustainable technologies without having to mine anything from the earth. As how this might benefit the economy, a recent report from Research Dive suggests the global EV battery recycling market is expected to generate over $13 million by 2028. That's a 1.2 million increase from 2020. 6.7 million of which is expected to come from the Asia-Pacific region due to rising productions and demands for EVs in countries like India, Japan, Australia, and China.
All this sounds great on paper, but in reality, there are lots of challenges with recycling batteries. First off, it's a really hard process. Straubel points to current challenges in scaling his company's recycling process fast enough to meet future demands for new batteries. In China, Zhang Xiaorong, director of Cutting Edge Technology Research Institute, also agrees that the process requiring disassembling by hand imposes a significant cost to recycling batteries. If handled improperly, he comments, it could cause great pollution as a, quote, 20-gram cell phone battery can pollute 1 square kilometer of land for about 50 years.
As industry standards have yet to be fully formed, Zhang Xiang, an auto industry analyst commenting for the Global Times, further notes that to promote the development of battery recycling, the Chinese government would need to provide subsidies and policies to support its sustainability. After all, come 2022, research institutions estimate about 420,000 tons of power batteries in China will need to be recycled.
This sure looks like quite a challenge, but it does sound like a worthwhile pursuit if you ask me. If we zoom out a little, batteries are used not only in electric vehicles, but also other green technology to store energy, in solar or wind power, for example. Imagine all the devices we use personally and enjoy publicly that use electricity. The vast majority of them rely on some sort of battery that is bound to expire and will need to be accounted for.
Hey Charmaine, so for our next story, I was wondering, do you use traditional Chinese medicine at all?
I do sometimes, for treating mild colds and such. Why?
Oh, cool. I do too sometimes for allergies. A lot of the traditional Chinese medicine I know of involves roots and herbs, but I know there are some other processes that uses animal parts. Take this for example. Practitioners believe that dugongs, a large gray and brown marine animal relative of the manatee, are effective aphrodisiacs, so hunting them as both food and medicine has led to the near extinction of the species. A 2019 study shows that it could be endangered or even critically endangered in some parts of the world. Since they feed exclusively on seagrass, the silting of seagrass bed is threatening their livelihood. In Indonesia, the animal is a protected species under the law, so even if a dugong dies, it is illegal to possess its body parts.
The latest news then is likely bad news for the conservation officials in a Southeast Asian nation. 2 dugongs were stranded earlier this month on Kaling Island in the eastern province of Maluka in Indonesia. One returned to the ocean luckily, but the other one was not so fortunate. Although locals tried to help push it back into the water, it still died. The residents were so used to using the animal parts as drugs that they cut up the deceased dugong and shared the parts among themselves for medicinal use.
Officials said cutting a dugong and using its body parts is not just illegal, but its consumption could actually pose a health risk to communities as these large dugongs might be contaminated by bacteria. While we don't know exactly why dugongs got stranded, consuming them can indeed be risky for both the ecosystem and our health.
Experts have come up with different theories. Some said the dugongs might have eaten marine debris that they can't digest, while others have suggested offshore underwater activities using sauna could have disrupted sea mammals' echolocation. All in all, it seems human activities of all sorts are highly likely the cause of their sudden deaths.
While scientists are still trying to understand this, Indonesia has been offering training to locals on how to carry out immediate rescue operations for stranded marine animals, such as first aid, but the government campaign has been hampered by a lack of funding and talent to provide such training to more locations where strandings are more common.
At Dabawami here, Koa, Indonesia has banned some animal consumption for medicinal use, and now a new story revealed that over half of the country's medicinal plant species won't be able to grow in most of their current range by 2050 due to climate change.
That's dreadful to hear. A group of experts wrote in the journal Global Ecology and Conservation that 26 out of 43 medicinal plant species are expected to lose up to 80% of their distribution area, with species on the islands of New Guinea, Java, and Sulawesi experiencing the largest reduction due to sea level rise.
To understand how important they are, we have to know that Indonesians don't just use them for personal health, but they are traded by local and indigenous communities. In 2013, the economic value of Indonesia's medicinal plants stood at 14.6 billion US dollars. In 2050, such trade globally is estimated at 5 trillion US dollars. Indonesia owns a wellspring of precious medicinal plants. At least 80% of those in Southeast Asia can be found in the country.
These species are facing the threat of losing their habitats due to deforestation and greenhouse gas emissions. Deforestation in the region has been so serious that Malaysia nearly eradicated a potential anti-HIV drug before it was discovered. Experts are calling for internal and external conservation of Indonesian medicinal plant species.
This is all we have for this week's GreenBites. And I note here that we will be taking a 2-week break following this episode and will come back after that as our small and dedicated team of producers are busy preparing a new series on our main Sustainable Asia channel on marine noise pollution. Stay tuned for updates. In the meantime, if you have any news stories you think we should highlight, let us know on our social media platforms with the hashtag #ShareYourBite.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast channels for more content and share our podcast with your friends and family. If you are interested in sponsoring GreenBites or have any comments about our content, we would love to hear from you. Email us using communications@sustainableasia.co or drop us a line on social media. Our handle is @sustainableasia. Thanks for listening. See you soon.